Hello and welcome to Woke Watch, an ongoing series of videos where I find the wokest stories from across the internet, and together we can pick them apart to expose the ideology for the lunacy it truly is. Today we'll be staying in the UK, in fact in the south of England. It's no secret that the woke mind virus has infected Britain's emergency services. For example, it is now NHS policy that if a patient is brought to hospital between the ages of 12 and 55, one of the first questions that person is asked is there a chance you could be pregnant? Note I said person, not woman, not female, not girl, anyone. So if I rock up at A&E, they have to ask me, is there a chance I could be with child? Now I'm a bit overweight, but I'm not bloody tubbed. And now wokeness is spreading to the Fire and Rescue Service, the FRS, colloquially known as the Fire Brigade. Because down in the county with the spelling mistake, Kent, firefighters there are being trained to use more inclusive, gender-neutral language. Firefighters. The brigade are rather easy to spot because they travel everywhere in their appliances or fire engines, and a fire engine is a bright red lorry with blue flashing lights, and if that doesn't get your attention, it will also make a noise like an air raid siren. So by all means scan the sky to check that the Luftwaffe aren't back to their old tricks, and of course if the Krauts did fancy round 3, then it would make sense they'd start by bombing Kent. But why do firefighters need to refer to, and this is what we're now called, their customers? If I call the fire brigade, I'm trying not to die that day. I'm not a customer. Why do firefighters have to get rid of using terms he and she and instead call everyone they or them? An organisation called the Free Speech Union estimates that within the UK, 0.26% of the population identify as trans or non-binary and will therefore prefer to be addressed by they, them pronouns. Meaning that 99.74% of the population, i.e. almost everyone, will be addressed by the fire service with these nonsensical pronouns. Because if you refer to a single person as they or them, it doesn't make sense. That is plural. But it's woke ideology that demands we always pander to this tiny minority group. But here's the thing. If just over 1/4% of the population want to be addressed as they, them, even though they're just the one person, what about my rights? Because 1 in 10 people in the UK, like me, are left-handed. Yet I've never been on a protest, despite being left-handed, meaning I have a much lower life expectancy. And that's because lefties tend to get killed in accidents, because the whole world is designed for right-handed people. For us, it's backwards. Yet I accept the risk. I know I'm the exception rather than the rule. I'm not planning to go down to Parliament and superglue myself to the road, demanding that the sinister genocide be ended. Sinister meaning of the left. And centuries ago in Christianity, the left was seen as evil, as satanic, which is why many years ago, left-handed people were often tried, pressed or drowned as witches. No witches were ever burned in the UK. Every day's a school day. Anyway, let's imagine a couple of scenarios where the fire brigade have to use they, them pronouns. First up, imagine there's been an explosion at a gasworks. Flame everywhere, huge threat to life, every appliance in the area is screaming down the road with their blues and twos going. The fire brigade arrive and they're informed there's someone trapped within the building. So these brave men and women, these heroes and heroines, they put on their protective clothing, their breathing apparatus, they grab their hoses and make their way into the building. With the hose, they fight back the flames, there's smoke, there's steam everywhere, embers coming down, but finally one firefighter sees a shape, gets on his radio and says, "It's okay, I found him." At which point the man on the floor starts crying and goes, "You called me him, I go by ZZM." Which is more fucking important? The second scenario, there's been a massive motorway pile-up. Multiple vehicles involved, the brigade are on scene, they see one car and they're going to have to use, I think they're called the jaws of life, that hydraulic cutting tool. So the firefighter goes up to the driver's window and she says, "Excuse me, madam, we're going to have to get you out of the car. We're going to cut the roof off is that your daughter in the back? If the driver then responds, did you just assume my gender? Because I'm female presenting, I prefer they, them pronouns, and my child is a they-be. I'm raising it genderless, and only when the child is old enough can it choose what it wants to be. I refuse to be part of your patriarchal society. In that case, the best thing would be to let the kid die. It's a mercy killing. It will never have any quality of life. Is it just me that thinks training firefighters to use gender-neutral pronouns is a complete waste of time? Being done just to appease a handful of attention-seeking half-wits. Because, I'll say this, I don't believe that anyone doesn't know what biological sex they are. How they feel, that's completely different. But, when you're in an emergency, does it matter if someone calls you he, she, sir, or madam? I think the fire brigade's time would better be spent preserving life and putting out the sodding fire. But thankfully, another emergency service is pushing back against wokeness. The police service, or police force if you prefer. In particular, the Metropolitan Police Force. And if you're watching this from outside the UK, that is London's police service. The Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, is the most powerful police officer in the UK. And he's had enough of officers being woke whilst on duty. So Sir Mark is introducing a new policy, meaning that police officers cannot bring their politics with them, in particular woke politics, whilst they are on duty. So Metropolitan Police officers will no longer be allowed to take a knee to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter. During Pride Month, they won't be able to wear rainbow-coloured epaulets. Nor will they be able to wear badges that say protect trans kids or anything about their preferred pronouns. They won't even be able to dance along with protesters from Extinction Rebellion. Because they are police officers, they are paid to uphold the law. And in no uncertain terms, the Commissioner has said that the role of the police is to fight crime, catch criminals and protect the public. And it doesn't matter if there's a policy which 90% of the British public are behind and 10% are against. The coppers are there to be neutral. Isn't that refreshing? A police officer, a very senior police officer, saying that the role of the police is not to take sides, not to get involved in identity politics or any type of politics. The role of the police is to police. And I hope he goes further. I hope Sir Mark can cut back on some of the red tape and bullshit the police are faced with, so they can go back to just nicking criminals without worrying about the criminals' religion, age, ethnicity, nationality, whatever. Not even worrying if they identify as a he, she, they, them or ze-zer. We need less wokeness and more common sense. Because we can't be in a situation where a firefighter will be worried carrying someone out of a burning building that because that person has multiple piercings, poor personal hygiene and bright blue hair, if said firefighter doesn't use the correct, entirely made up pronoun, he, she or even they, them could be prosecuted for a hate crime. As ever, thanks for watching.